Hi everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. I thought I would make a video just to let you know how happy I've been lately about the hummingbirds that have returned to our yard. I used to feed hummingbirds years ago, and the species of hummingbird that visits us is the rufous hummingbird. I stopped feeding them after reading that the hummingbird feeders can grow mold in them if you don't clean them religiously every few days, and this mold is toxic to the birds and can kill them. Also, the food preparations that they sell for the hummingbirds tend to have red dye in them, and this red dye is toxic to the birds, not good for them. And also, the sugary water that they eat, if it's left in the feeder for too long, it can ferment and turn into alcohol, which is toxic for the birds. So I just got really, really afraid of harming these beautiful, majestic, spectacular creatures. I was so afraid to harm them that I stopped feeding them. And people call me an animal hater because I hate dogs. I wonder how many dog lovers would be so afraid to harm hummingbirds that they would stop feeding them. But what I noticed is, even though we had taken the feeders down, these birds, every spring when they would return, they would come and buzz around the same places where the hummingbird feeders used to be, as if they'd remembered where to go look for the food. And so they came back this spring, and after a few years of not feeding them, I thought, I'm just so amazed by these birds, and I feel bad that they're buzzing around, they're looking for food. So I did a bit of research, and I learned that, if I clean the feeders every couple of days and disinfect them once a week, then it should be fine, and no mold will harm the birds. There will be no mold. And I can also make my own food for them, just using refined white sugar and water. Just 1 part of sugar to 4 parts of water. So I did it. We went out, we purchased a couple of feeders, and we put them back in the same places where the old feeders used to be. And sure enough, the birds were back right away. They've been buzzing around our yard. It's been so delightful. I've been spending all my spare time watching them, cuddling with my son, and just marveling at these creatures and learning about them. My son, my youngest child, is very interested in birds. I don't know if it's a genetic thing, but my father used to bird watch. I used to bird watch with my dad, so it's like a tradition, I guess. And I'm so happy to carry that on with my son. So I learned some amazing things about hummingbirds. Just learning these amazing facts, like their hearts that can beat up to 1,200 beats per minute, and their wings that flap, what is it, like up to 200 times per second. How is that even possible? I've just been so amazed just learning these facts. These birds, these rufous hummingbirds, they make one of the longest migrations of all birds, especially when you take into consideration their body size. They're so tiny. How do they pack in enough fuel to fly from Alaska to Mexico? But the most amazing thing to me is that the babies, which are born in the northern region, because they winter down in Mexico, but then during the summer they come up to British Columbia, Canada, and the southern portions of Alaska. So they breed up here. The babies make the journey without the aid of their parents, with no guidance. How do they do this? How do they know where to go? I also learned that hummingbirds remember the exact location of each and every flower on their migratory path. This is crazy to me. This is why they kept coming back to the feeders every year, even though the feeders were gone. They came looking for the feeders because they remember that that's where the feeders were. I just can't wrap my head around how such a tiny creature with such a tiny brain can remember the location of every flower. Not only that, they remember how long it takes for each and every flower on their migratory route to refill with nectar. I mean, I couldn't do this. No human being could do this without the aid of a computer or at least a pencil and a paper, like, and a compass and a map. I don't know. I've just been absolutely blown away by these little birds that are so entertaining to watch. The males are really territorial, and they get into these little spats with each other, and they make the cutest little noises, and they're just so adorable. We also have a lot of many different types of birds, many different species of birds around our yard. We have a birdhouse with tree swallows that return every year, and they nest in the birdhouse. And so every year we have the privilege of watching a family of tree swallows raise their young. And we're joking, my kids and I, that hummingbird males are deadbeat fathers. They just, fly around flashing their beautiful colors because it's the male hummingbirds that have that very colorful throat patch. And they impress the females with their beautiful plumage and just flitter about showing off. And then as soon as they get the females pregnant, they buzz off. And the female builds the nest, raises the babies all on her own. But the tree swallows, they work as a team. The parents work very hard at feeding the young. And it's just so beautiful to watch these birds. We have many other types of birds as well. And so I've just been busy bird watching. And but I wanted to talk to you about just how happy I am with these birds and just share these amazing facts about them. I also learned about the ruby-throated hummingbirds and how they actually migrate across the Gulf of Mexico. They fly nonstop for what I believe is like 500 kilometers. Can you imagine? How do they do that? How do they know where to go? This information is just programmed into their brains somehow. And, it's got me thinking about all these different animals too, like salmon. I mean, I've been in awe of salmon. I think fish are very underrated. Fish are amazing. These salmon are born in these rivers. They make their way out to the open ocean where they swim around in the open ocean. Then they find their way back to the exact same spot where they were born. How do they do that? Isn't that amazing? And they just exhaust themselves. This journey they make takes everything out of them. But to know where to go, I just could go on and on. Monarch butterflies, they migrate from Canada down to Mexico. That's amazing. Just so fascinating. There's just so many animals that do so many amazing things. I could talk forever about just how amazing animals are. I've always been so fascinated with the natural world, with wild animals. I love watching nature shows. I love learning about the different species, the many varied, beautiful, fascinating species out there. But somehow, all of this is eclipsed by the wonder of dogs. Dogs are just so unnatural. Nature never would have created these abominations. They are man-made abominations. They are like science experiments gone wrong. We created them. We bred them into existence, and they are so mutated and so foul and just so awful in so many different ways. It blows my mind that people worship these things. They are so caught up in worshiping these unnatural abominations that they fail to even notice all of the other beautiful natural animals in the world. They don't even care about all of these other animals that are so amazing. In response to me posting about the sense of awe and wonder and the joy I feel when watching these hummingbirds, my friend wrote, "What about the wonderment of dogs shitting in millions upon millions of single use plastic bags every day? And remembering every spot in the neighborhood where other dogs have shit and pissed, so they can piss there too, roll in shit, and kill the grass and trees. It's fascinating to behold." I will never understand the distinction people make between a pet that deserves to be loved and a wild animal that is worthless. I am confused by people who hunt and fish when it is unnecessary to do so. How do they practice this selective compassion? How do they make that okay? Like, I feel so bad for all the years I spent fishing, torturing fish. I was born and raised in a family of people who fished and hunted. I grew up being indoctrinated by my parents who taught me that fishing was a fun and wholesome family activity, that we needed animal protein to be healthy. And so while I was taught to take good care of my goldfish and not harm my goldfish, well, it was fine to go out and torture fish for fun, even if we weren't going to eat them. Catch and release. It was my parents' idea of a fun afternoon. It just, there's this comic, the guy who draws up these comics, Vegan Sidekick. He's got some really great comics. I often wonder, if you would bait a hook with cat food or dog food, and you would, trick a dog or cat into biting on this hook, and then reeling them in, with, this hook through their cheek, and then putting the dog or cat underwater to suffocate for a few minutes before you release it. If you would do something like that, you would be called a psychopath. People would consider you to be a psychopath even if you did this to hamsters or mice even. But if you do it to a fish, it's fine. In fact, if you're opposed to doing it to a fish, then you're crazy. People have this idea that fish don't feel pain and don't suffer, when science shows that that's clearly not the case at all. They're very sensitive, they do suffer, they do feel pain. And they're much more intelligent than people realize. But if you try to talk to people about this, they'll just brush you off as some crazy tree-hugging, extremist, whatever, trying to shove your beliefs down their throats or whatever. But God forbid you leave a dog in a hot car for 15 minutes, I was discussing this with a friend today who wrote, "Something that has puzzled me for many years is the complete apathy about angling. Few of the animal welfare organizations seem to care about the cruelty involved, although PETA has campaigned against catch and release fishing. The problem with PETA is that it is marginalized and discredited as being crazy or extremist. They appear to be extremist because most of the mainstream animal protection charities are more interested in maintaining the status quo or pandering to the demands of animal owners rather than protecting the animals themselves. For example, in a logical world, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds should be mounting massive campaigns against the keeping of cats as household pets. They don't. The RSPCA campaigns for the legalization of pit bulls and the overthrow of BSL, despite the reality of pit bulls being a major killer of other animals. Why is the world not logical? Why are people so irrational? Why can they not see that their choices and their behaviors are not loving towards animals? Most people would never harm their pet goldfish. They'll teach their kids to be kind to the guppies or whatever type of fish they have in their aquariums. But they will take their kids fishing. They will feed their kids fish. It's absolutely crazy to me, and I'll never understand it. How people are so selective with their compassion. How come you show compassion to one species but not another? I was in my yard jumping on the trampoline, and we had all these hummingbirds just zipping by us like these little bejeweled bullets making these cute little noises, and we've just been so happy and just I can't even find words. It's just been such a joy to have these creatures in our yard. I know that a big reason these birds choose to visit our yard and not other people's yards is because we don't have a dog in our yard. I read that these birds are very sensitive to noise. So if you have a dog barking its head off, they're going to avoid your yard. And also another thing I wanted to mention is people are always going on about, oh, you got to get a dog to teach your kids respect, to teach your kids responsibility. That's bullcrap. I teach my kids responsibility and respect by teaching them not to go around the bird feeders, to avoid that area so as not to disturb the birds or frighten them away. We teach them to be quiet around the birds. If they want to play and make more noise, they can go play on the street or somewhere far away from the bird feeders. But not only do we teach them to respect the birds, we teach them to respect the neighbors by not being too loud, by keeping their voices down when they're outside. Another way they learn responsibility is we teach them to clean the bird feeders, refill the bird feeders, and not wait too long in between cleanings. We teach them the reason why we do this. And cats threaten hummingbirds, as well as many other species of birds. The critically endangered Juan Fernandez firecrown pictured here, look at this stunner, what a beauty, is close to extinction largely because of cats. Cats have contributed to the extinction of 63 species of birds, mammals, and reptiles, and counting. So, to allow your cat outdoors, to allow it to roam, is a very unloving thing to do, not only for the cat, but for other animals. Why is it unloving to the cat? Because the cat can catch diseases, it can get into a scrap with another cat and get really injured, it can get attacked by a dog or any other animal that's big enough to hurt it, or it could get run over by a car. I'm going to share some information with you about cats and how they kill hummingbirds. They don't just kill them though, but they often catch them and rip out a whole bunch of their feathers. People are finding birds with missing feathers in their cats' mouths. Sometimes they are alive, sometimes they're not. This is a big problem. And so we teach our kids to respect animals by not allowing cats, domestic cats, to go out and harm these birds. So I think that I'm doing a much better job at teaching my children respect for animals by not owning a cat, by not letting a cat roam outside and attack birds. I was in the yard and I was just feeling very thankful for these birds that are probably going to move on their migratory route in just another week or two. So we're really enjoying them while they're here. But just as we were enjoying them, my son said, "Oh, I think I see a cat." And we looked into this wooded area on our property, and we looked a little closer and we saw that it wasn't a cat. It was a bunny. And we call it our bunny. It's the closest thing we have to a pet, I guess. This rabbit was visiting our yard for the past couple of years. And it's so cute. But last year, about halfway through the summer, we just stopped seeing it. And we assumed that it had been killed, probably by the roaming huskies that roam around. We have a lot of dogs that people let roam around. So we thought like a dog probably killed it, possibly a wild animal. So we were sad about that. But we saw our bunny. Our bunny's back. We think it's the same bunny. It looks very similar to the other bunny. And it's hopping around in the same area. And it wasn't even afraid of us. It was like hopping really close to us. And we were just so happy and just I can't find the words to convey to you how much we appreciate the wild birds that are around our house, and the bunny, and even the dragonflies and the spiders and the beetles. We often discover beetles that we've just never seen before, and the iridescent sheen on their bodies, and the spiders, and we just watch the spiders in their webs, and we marvel at how they live and how they hunt, and just all these creatures. There are so many of them if you look for them, and there's just so much about them that is mysterious and fascinating and incredible. And yet all of our neighbors are too busy picking up dog shit and worshiping their dogs to even notice these things, it seems. I feel so lucky that I am not indoctrinated by the dog cult. And because I think that when you're indoctrinated by the dog cult, you get these blinders. You have these blinders on that blind you to just how majestic the natural world is. Dog worshippers are robbed of compassion for other species. The species that are tortured and killed to become pet food. Just all the species that are harassed. When a dog chases a squirrel or birds or whatever, people just laugh. These dog worshippers just laugh. They don't care about the squirrel. They don't care. This video I'm showing you right now was widely shared on social media last summer, and dog worshippers were laughing about it. They thought it was funny. This bird's feet were taped to the fence. That's how much these so-called animal lovers care about animals. Now, I hate dogs with the fiery passion of a billion suns, and we don't own a dog. And people call me an animal hater. But when it comes to squirrels and fish and birds and amphibians and insects and spiders even, when it comes to all natural animals, we do care. And my family, we are so compassionate and have so much empathy for wild animals. We don't even like to pick up frogs and toads when we see them, or salamanders. I see other kids with their parents at the beach. They'll find a frog and they will put it into a bucket and leave it there for hours, or they'll build like a sandcastle and put the frog in the sandcastle and just play with the frog as if it's a toy. And my kids, when they see this, they feel genuinely sad. They are saddened. And they say, "Mom, why are they doing that to that poor frog? The frog is scared." And I'm like, yeah, I know. And these are the parents that look at us and think that I am somehow abusing my child by teaching them to hate animals. You dog hater. But no, they don't say that. They don't say dog hater. They say, "You animal hater. Oh, you're abusing your kids." They have it backwards. I'm the one teaching my kids true compassion, not this weird selective compassion, which is not love, because like I explained in my video about how dog ownership is cruel, and how love is hate and hate is love. When you enslave an animal, and that's what dog ownership is, you're keeping it captive. You're preventing it from moving freely. You're preventing it from doing what its instincts are telling it to do, which is roam, which is join a pack of dogs, which is scavenge, hunt, attack people. That's what dogs want to do. They want to bark. They want to hump. They want to jump. They want to do all this stuff. And we spend how much money, how much time training these behaviors out of them so that they won't act like dogs. It's just so mental. But anyway, the focus of this video was the wonder of the natural world of animals. Please share in the comments what your favorite animal is. I want these dog worshippers to realize that we cherish animals. I'm going to say we love animals. We could debate about the definition of love. To me, love is not about owning another creature. You know that expression, if you love someone, set them free? Well, these people are not setting their dogs free, are they? That's not love. Love is giving an animal freedom It is respecting their needs, their instincts, their natural behaviors, allowing them to engage in their natural behaviors, respecting them from a distance, not interfering with them. See, that's what I do with my kids. We teach our kids to leave animals alone, and that is true love. That is true respect for animals. So I'm off to clean my bird feeders, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy another day of marveling at these incredible creatures, which, by the way, are dwindling in number. Their numbers have been going down over the years. It's thought that they are very sensitive to the effects of climate change, which, by the way, is not a hoax. And because these birds are so sensitive to the blooming of flowers in specific locations at specific times, it's believed that climate change is interfering with all of that, and that's what's causing the decrease in their numbers, which makes me very sad and which motivates me to make videos such as this one, to try to educate people about the reality of climate change and the natural world and our responsibility in that. The future for frogs and other amphibians also looks bleak due to the effects of climate change and habitat loss, deforestation. Most forests are cut down to raise livestock or to grow crops to feed livestock, and all of this is unnecessary. I'll put some links in the description for you to read through. If you have a cat, please keep it indoors. These birds are absolutely incredible creatures that have evolved over millions of years. It would be a shame to lose them. It is a shame that their numbers are decreasing because of predators such as cats and human activities which contribute to global warming, such as livestock production, which is a major one. It accounts for up to 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions. It's very easy to choose a milk alternative over cow's milk, or to choose, let's say, a vegetarian Indian dish over a burger. Or if you love burgers so much, go out and try one of the many incredible plant-based burgers that are available nowadays, such as the Light Life brand, which is amazing. Beyond Meat offers a delicious alternative. But there are so many different meat-free meals you can make which are hearty and so delicious. My daughter's boyfriend is a hardcore meat eater, but when he was coming over to our place before the lockdown, he told me that he loved coming over here to eat because I was introducing him to all of these different dishes that he had never even heard of before, such as West African peanut stew. I make so many different things that blow him away. And anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please give it some thought and check out the latest link that I shared under the community tab on my channel. It's a video about wet markets in North America. It's a must-see, so please check that out. And if you have hummingbirds in your area and you're feeding them, please clean those feeders every couple of days. Change the sugar water. Some websites say every 4 days, but be diligent. Do it religiously. Let's not poison these beautiful little birds. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you soon.